Every 24 hours in the US, nearly 5 people are killed by someone they know. This story is one of them. What began as an ordinary day ended in unimaginable heartbreak. How could someone she trusted, someone who once called her family, turn her world upside down? This is the story of Alana Callahan, a 14-year-old whose bright future was stolen, and the haunting truth about the boy she thought she knew. Stay with us as we unravel the twisted tale of trust, betrayal, and a crime that left an entire community shaken. Welcome to True Crime Theater HQ. For more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Aaron Schmidt's life began in turmoil, a childhood marked by chaos and heartbreak. Born into a world where love was absent and safety was a distant dream, Aaron grew up surrounded by instability. His mother, gripped by addiction and anger, was unable to provide the care and nurturing he desperately needed. By the age of 5, the situation had become untenable. Authorities intervened, removing Aaron and his siblings from their mother's custody. But the solution offered little comfort. He was placed with an older half-sister, someone who should have been a guardian, a protector. Instead, the abuse continued. Neglect turned to cruelty, and Aaron found himself trapped in a home that offered no refuge. Loneliness became his constant companion, and the foundations of trust were eroded before they could even form. For a boy so young, the future must have seemed bleak, each day a struggle to endure. Then, in the spring of 2010, something changed. A chance meeting brought Aaron into the orbit of the Callahan family. A household filled with warmth, laughter, and acceptance. They took him in, not as an outsider, but as one of their own. For Aaron, this wasn't just a family. It was a sanctuary, a glimpse of what life could be when it was filled with kindness and stability. It was the first time he experienced what it felt like to belong. A lifeline that seemed to pull him from the darkness of his past. But even the brightest light can cast a shadow, and this story would soon take a devastating turn. Aaron quickly integrated into the Callahan family, becoming a familiar presence in their home. He joined them for family dinners, worked alongside them in the yard, and embraced the sense of belonging he had craved for so long. In their warm and welcoming household, Aaron found a sense of peace that had eluded him throughout his turbulent life. And at the heart of it all was 13-year-old Alana Callahan, a bright, spirited girl whose kindness and energy captured Aaron's attention. For Aaron, Alana became more than a friend. She became his anchor, his source of hope. Their bond deepened, and before long, a romantic connection blossomed. To Aaron, this was more than puppy love. It was everything he'd ever wanted. But for Alana, guided by her faith and the advice of her youth pastor, their relationship was short-lived. She ended it after only a few days, believing it was the right thing to do. For most, this might have been a fleeting disappointment, a moment to move past. But for Aaron, it was devastating. What seemed like a minor heartbreak became a wound that festered beneath the surface. The rejection wasn't just about Alana. It reopened the scars of abandonment and loss that had shaped his life. And as Aaron grappled with those emotions, his world began to unravel in ways no one could have anticipated. In January 2011, the fragile balance Aaron had found in the Callahan household began to crumble. One afternoon, Alana and her mother came home to find Aaron inside their house, uninvited and alone. He claimed the door was unlocked and that he had let himself in, believing they'd be home soon. But Alana's mother wasn't convinced. The Callahans always kept their doors locked, and Aaron's explanation didn't add up. For the first time, trust was broken, and to the Callahans, the family imposed boundaries they thought were fair. Aaron was told he could no longer enter the house unless accompanied by an adult, and he was banned from visiting entirely for 2 weeks. To the Callahans, it was a simple consequence, a way to reinforce respect and establish rules. But to Aaron, it was something far greater. The home that had become his refuge, the family that had become his lifeline, was suddenly out of reach. He felt exiled from the one place where he had found stability and belonging. The punishment hit Heron harder than anyone could have imagined. To lose the Callahan household wasn't just a setback. It was like losing the only family he thought he had. As the days passed, his isolation grew, and so did his resentment. What the Callahan saw as a temporary boundary, Heron saw as a permanent rejection. For a boy whose life had already been defined by loss and abandonment, this was the breaking point. In his mind, losing them wasn't an option, and that desperation would set the stage for a decision that would change everything. January 31, 2011, dawned as an ordinary winter day in Georgia. The rain fell steadily, coating the roads in a grey haze, as Alana Callahan's school bus pulled up to the end of the long driveway. Her older sister, Amanda, waited in the truck, ready to pick her up and drive the short distance to their home, a routine they had followed countless times before. But by the end of the afternoon, routine would be shattered, and the Callahan family's world would be irreparably broken. Unbeknownst to them, Aaron Schmidt had already made his way to their house, defying the punishment that had barred him from entering. He slipped inside while Alana was home alone, his presence hidden from view. As Alana logged into Facebook at the dining room table, the house fell silent. Too silent. Minutes later, Amanda returned to find the door unlocked and the house eerily still. The first thing Amanda noticed was the chair Alana had been sitting in. It was tipped over, lying on the floor. Then she saw the dark stains, red and smeared across the floorboards. At first, she thought it was spilled Kool-Aid, but as her eyes adjusted, the horrifying reality set in. Panicked, Amanda called out for her sister, her voice echoing through the empty rooms. There was no answer. Moments later, Heron appeared, frantic and wide-eyed, claiming someone had taken Alana. His words were disjointed, his demeanor erratic, as he insisted he didn't know what had happened. But Amanda couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that something was terribly wrong. Together with her younger brother, she searched the property, her fear mounting with every passing second. Then Aaron pointed toward a cluster of trees near the edge of the yard, his voice trembling as he shouted, "There she is!" Amanda rushed to where he was pointing. And there, beneath the canopy of branches, she found Alana. Her lifeless body lay crumpled on the ground, her face bloodied, a gaping wound near her chin. Desperate to save her, Amanda attempted CPR, but Alana's mouth was filled with blood, making it impossible to help. In that moment, all hope was lost. As the paramedics arrived and the police began their investigation, Heron's story began to unravel. His frantic claims of a mysterious kidnapper didn't add up. The house held no signs of forced entry, and the evidence was leading to one inescapable conclusion. Heron wasn't the victim he claimed to be. He was the perpetrator. As police arrived at the Callahan residence, the scene before them was chaotic and heart-wrenching. Alana's body had been discovered, and her family was in shock, trying to make sense of the unthinkable. Amid the confusion stood Aaron Schmidt, visibly distressed. But something about his behavior felt off. Officers quickly noticed that Aaron's emotions seemed exaggerated, almost theatrical. He broke into sobs whenever someone looked at him, but the tears disappeared the moment he thought no one was watching. His stories shifted with each retelling, filled with vague details and inconsistencies. He claimed to have seen a mysterious intruder dressed in black fleeing the scene, but he couldn't provide any solid description. The narrative simply didn't add up. Hours into the investigation, a search of the woods behind the Callahan home uncovered a critical piece of evidence: the murder weapon. The gun, carefully hidden, was later linked to the fatal shot that took Alana's life. Ballistic tests confirmed the connection, and with each piece of evidence, Aaron's web of lies began to unravel. As detectives questioned him, Heron's stories became more convoluted. He pointed fingers at imaginary suspects, changed key details, and offered explanations that contradicted the physical evidence. To the investigators, one thing became clear. Heron wasn't a witness to a crime. He was its perpetrator. The boy who had once been welcomed as family was now the prime suspect in an act of betrayal and violence that would haunt the Callahans forever. In February 2012, the case of Aaron Schmidt went to trial, drawing the attention of a community still reeling from the tragedy. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was heavy. Each detail of the crime laid bare before a jury tasked with deciding Aaron's fate. Prosecutors presented a stark narrative. This wasn't a crime of impulse, but one of calculated intent. They described how Aaron, consumed by rejection and anger, had betrayed the very family that had given him a second chance. Witness after witness recounted the events leading up to that fateful day, painting a picture of a troubled teenager whose pain had turned into something far darker. Evidence, including the murder weapon and Aaron's contradictory statements, solidified the prosecution's case. The Callahans, visibly shattered, sat through each testimony, their grief etched into every expression. In his defense, Aaron's attorneys pointed to his traumatic upbringing, arguing that years of abuse had shaped his fragile psyche. But the jury, confronted with the weight of evidence, remained unmoved. After just 4 hours of deliberation, they returned with their verdict: guilty. As the sentence was handed down, the courtroom fell silent. For the Callahans, justice offered little solace. Alana was gone, and no verdict could bring her back. Their family would forever carry the scars of a betrayal they never saw coming, a loss that words could never fully capture. Still, the name of Hazel Corvale did never fully capture. This story is a painful reminder of how deeply unresolved trauma can shape the course of a life. For Aaron Schmidt, a troubled past collided with an unbearable rejection, culminating in an act that shattered not only his own future, but an entire family's. The Callahans, once a beacon of hope for Aaron, now carry the weight of an unimaginable loss. A wound that time may soften, but will never fully heal. True crime stories like this expose the depths of human tragedy, the moments where trust is betrayed and lives are forever altered. But they also shine a light on the resilience of those left behind, the strength it takes to rebuild, to remember, and to honor the ones they've lost. This is more than a story of darkness. It's a testament to the enduring power of love and memory.